From humble beginnings in a Navy yard to transforming an old cotton warehouse into a vibrant playhouse, the Footlight Players have been entertaining and inspiring our community for nearly a century. We're happy to welcome their artistic director, Kyle Barnett. Kyle, great to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me, Taylor.
Nearly a century. That's
yes.
crazy.
That's a long time for any theater company.
It is.
Yeah.
Tell me a little about the evolution over these 93
well,
years.
Well, gosh, there's so much, but like you covered a little bit of it. So it started out as a cotton warehouse, and in the late 30s, I believe it was the late 30s, it was donated to a theater group. Footlight Players became the resident company at this cotton warehouse, which was turned into what we now call the Queen Street Playhouse. And that was the first year. Now we're in our 93rd season. So over the years, there's been so many different evolutions. They performed at the Dock Street Theater for a long time, which is right around the corner from us on Church Street. And then they moved back into the Queen Street Playhouse. Different leadership throughout the years. The past 6 has been ran by Executive Director Brian Porter and myself. And we brought the name of Queen Street Playhouse back. So now the building is once again known as the performance arts venue of Queen Street Playhouse. And Footlight Players is the theater company in residence at the theater.
And that is an absolute beautiful building.
It's great.
So what types of shows are common with the Footlight Players?
Well, you know, we do what's called a main stage season, where we do 6 shows throughout the year. We have musicals, big, straight from Broadway musicals, classic musicals. This year we're doing Into the Woods, which is a huge favorite of a lot of people. We're doing Jekyll and Hyde, which we'll probably talk about in just a minute. We also do classics, but we also do some plays that are straight from Broadway. 2 of our shows this season are things that were just on Broadway that are brand new plays that we're able to bring to Charleston and expose the Low Country to new works as well. So
what are those 2?
One's called The Minutes, which is a comedy. It's a play, and then Gutenberg the Musical, which is a 2-man musical that just closed on Broadway about 3 months ago.
How incredible.
Yeah.
And so back to Jekyll and Hyde.
Yes.
That is the season opener
It is.
on August 23rd.
It's massive, that's
right?
correct, yes.
So for someone who may not have heard about Jekyll and Hyde, tell us about this production.
Well, it's based on the classic Robert Louis Stevenson story about Dr. Jekyll, who it's really about good versus evil, and he wants to do all these experiments where eventually, to fast forward, it splits his personality into 2, good Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, who ends up terrorizing the streets of Victorian England in the 1800s. It's been turned into this big, beautiful Gothic musical, which was on Broadway in the early 2000s, and we are reviving it for its first time here in Charleston on August 23rd.
Wow.
And I'm directing that show. So,
are you really?
Yeah.
What a way to open the season with Jekyll and Hyde.
Big. You got to do it big.
Yeah, and well, the 93rd season. I mean, is there anything new and special that you guys are doing this season?
Yeah, so on top of Into the Woods and Jekyll and Hyde, which bookend, inside of that are the 2 shows I told you about, The Minutes, which is a comedy in October, and Gutenberg the Musical, but we're also going to be doing Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which is a classic American theater piece. And our other show, our Christmas show this year, is A Christmas Story, which is an adaptation of the famous 80s show movie that takes place in the 40s. You'll Shoot Your Eye Out, the BB gun, Red Ryder BB gun, and all that stuff. So, yeah.
And it's important to mention that in addition to the main season, you guys also have an Act 2 and a Speakeasy series. Can you tell us a little about that?
Sure. So when we took over a few years ago, we learned that, you know, a lot of people aren't apt to just come out to the theater. Sometimes theater can be intimidating or something doesn't speak to someone. So we wanted to do something that was more affordable but also reached out to a younger audience or people who would be more casual theater goers. So our Act 2 series covers that. It's a little bit more adult as well. So we have a show called Who's Holiday, which we do every year. It's Cindy Lou Who from The Grinch, but she's grown up. She's now 40 years old, and she's a chain smoker who lives in a trailer on Mount Crumpet. So her life has changed quite a bit. It's very funny. But it's definitely not for the kids. We're doing Schoolhouse Rock Live this year, which is a musical version of the famous animated kids show from the 80s and the 70s. And we're doing the Rocky Horror Experience is our other one. So when I told you earlier when we were talking before that we have a cinema grade projector and a drop down screen that fills it's like you're going to a movie theater. And we show the film Rocky Horror, but we have a live band behind the screen that kicks in, and the most famous songs, and actors come out in front of the screen and perform the songs live in character.
Wow.
It's insane. So you come and you do the whole thing, you throw stuff at the screen and you know, all that classic stuff. So those are our 3 Act 2. And then the Speakeasy series, we've turned our little lobby in the front of the theater, which is, you know, it's a little historical theater. We seat about 50 people. We have a baby grand piano, and we bring different artists from around the city, and they do a really intimate cabaret show once a month. And we have a full bar there, so everything is right there. It's about the size of this room, really.
Yeah.
And it's a really nice experience, and some really high-profile artists love to come and do these tiny little one-offs.
Yeah.
So that's the Speakeasy series.
Yeah, and all of this information can be found at footlightplayers.net.
Yep.
And also tickets and season tickets as well are available on the website, and also to rent out the Queen Street Playhouse is an option as well. Kyle, thank you so much for being here with us
Thank you for
today.
having me. I appreciate it.
We're back in 2 minutes.